Could the earthquake in Haiti, as tragic as it was, have been an opportunity to help Haiti reset, educationally, politically, economically? In a moment, we'll talk to someone who spent 35 years studying Haiti, and he thinks the answer is yes.
This program was made possible by funding from the UCF Global Perspectives Office.
Hello and welcome to the Global Perspective Show. I'm John Bersia, Special Assistant to the President for Global Perspectives at the University of Central Florida. Our guest today has spent his life studying Haiti, an issue that some of us have come to know in the past year plus since the earthquake there, but an issue that deserves much closer analysis and evaluation. Dr. Robert Maguire is a specialist in Haiti and international affairs at Trinity College. Welcome, Dr.
John,
Maguire.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us, where were you in Haiti, or relative to Haiti when the earthquake struck?
Well, I had visited Haiti on January 5th, 2010. The earthquake was on January 12th. And on January 10th, I left Haiti to come back to the States. I went down there at the invitation of a think tank in Haiti to make a presentation. So I missed the earthquake by 2 days, and actually I was back in my home in Maryland when I got word of the earthquake, and it really shook me up, because not only because I'd just been there, but because I could have been there as well. And and I was worried very much about people I had just seen and places I had been, and I did lose some friends and colleagues in the quake. But fortunately for me, I had just returned from the earthquake.
Well, for many observers, the earthquake was the first opportunity to pay serious attention to Haiti.
Right.
And yet, as you know, the issues that the country faced then and after the quake had been in place for quite some time. Why don't you take us back a little bit in history and explain why these problems existed and exactly what they were?
Right, okay. My first engagement in Haiti was in 1974. And between 1979 and 1999, when I worked with the Inter-American Foundation, a small U.S. government agency supporting grassroots change in Haiti, I was going back and forth into Haiti frequently. So I got to know Haiti from the bottom up. And when the quake occurred and I was asked, what is your assessment of the damage? Essentially, I would answer by saying, well, my assessment is that much of the damage took place before the quake, and the magnitude of the damage in Port-au-Prince was a result of that, where you had a metropolitan area that had grown from 1975, it was like 375,000 people. By just before the earthquake, there were over 3 million people living in the metropolitan area. And I do the assessment in terms of why that happened. Why did you have this massive demographic shift in Haiti? And I relate it to development issues and what I call the growing imbalance of Haiti over time.
Well, tell us a little bit, going back before the earthquake, before that period immediately preceding it. What was it in Haiti's history, in your opinion, that contributed to some of the problems that we still see today?
Okay, well, Haiti's history is extremely complicated, in part because of its revolution. Haiti had a really upside-down turning revolution in 1804, declared itself independent. It was the second independent nation in the hemisphere. But what made it very different was that it was a black republic where slaves had overthrown the French rulers. And as a result of that, Haiti was ostracized and it was isolated by all the ruling important great powers of that time, including the United States, because Haiti had defied convention. It had abolished slavery at a time when slavery was active every place else in the Western Hemisphere. And it became this kind of a pariah, to the point where it took the United States actually 58 years to recognize Haiti diplomatically. From 1804 to 1862, we finally gave Haiti diplomatic recognition. But that's because we were resolving our own issue with slavery. So Haiti became this kind of pariah state. And after its revolution, in which the economy was very it was decimated because of the nature of the revolution. You know, Haiti had a hard time coming back and rebuilding its economy, and no one was coming in to help them. So that was part of the kind of progressive impoverishment of Haiti that occurred. But Haiti began really as an agrarian society, where even in my first visit to Haiti in 1974, about 80% of all Haitians lived in rural areas or in small towns, and the cities were actually quite small. Haiti was feeding itself. Most of the wealth was in the cities. The countryside was not well developed, but people there, you know, were managing to live okay in more or less a traditional setting. But starting in the mid to late 1970s, development initiatives in Haiti shifted a lot, and there was greater focus on making Haiti what was called in those days the Taiwan of the Caribbean. Now, a lot of the students watching this might not know or realize that back in those days, Taiwan was like China is today. You know, things were made in Taiwan. Today we go in Walmart, it's all made in China. You know, back then it was made in Taiwan. So the idea was that Haiti was close to the United States. It had a lot of cheap labor, and it had a dictatorship under Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier that was keeping things stable. So the idea was to invest in Haiti in factories that would provide jobs for people. And that happened, and in the late 1970s, early 1980s, Haiti had this big assembly sector in the capital city of Port-au-Prince. The factories were making things like garments, electronics, putting together electronic pieces, sporting goods. You know, all the baseballs for Major League Baseball used to be made in Haiti because they were hand sewn. But what this ended up doing was it attracted more and more people to come off the countryside and into the city looking for jobs. And even though some 80,000 to 100,000 jobs were created then, according to World Bank statistics of the time, for every 2 people that got a job, 5 people came into the city and didn't get a job. So basically 2 things happened. The city started to explode in population, and slums started to grow. The city became more dilapidated and crowded, and that's how it grew to the size that it was just before the earthquake. But in the countryside, there was no comparative investment as there was in the city. So farmers were leaving their land, the food production was going down, and Haiti started importing food, increasingly, especially rice, which was subsidized and cheaper than Haitian-produced rice. And this created a series of events and developments that impoverished Haiti, led to the crowding of the city. People were vulnerable because poor people would come to the city, have nowhere to go. Where would they even live? I mean, they got squashed onto marginal land. You know, I'm a geographer and I know this. You know, if land is already occupied by people, there's something good about it. But when poor people come into the city, the land that's available to them, what is it? It's the low-lying areas along the seacoast that can be easily flooded and don't drain well. It's land in alluvial floodplains of rivers that may seem dry, but if during the rainy season they flood and wash people away. It's land on hillsides, and Port-au-Prince is surrounded by steep hills, and poor people would put themselves in these hillsides in very unstable land, and then in the ravines at the bottom of the hill. And these are all vulnerable places, so that when the ground shook in that earthquake, particularly people on those hillsides and in those ravines were highly vulnerable, and that's where a lot of the death and tragedy occurred during the earthquake.
Tell us a little bit about how institutions developed in Haiti, because this is something, as we look to the future, that's going to be one of the main challenges on the table. And because of the history that you just described, institution building was understandably difficult. And now with this massive tragedy, how is it that Haitians are going to be able to build or rebuild institutions?
Yeah. Well, Haiti is not known for strong institutions today. In the past, it had several strong institutions. One was the army, and one was the state. The other institution in Haiti that has traversed through time, essentially, is the church, right? And these were three ways of economic mobility for people who were not part of the economic elites. And that's very much a family thing, where people are born into families that have economic advantage. But people who weren't, they would gravitate toward the church, the army, or the government to pick themselves up, to have economic and upward mobility. The Haitian army was disbanded in 1995 when John Bertrand Aristide was president. He did a very interesting thing. The Haitian army is enshrined in the Constitution, so he couldn't abolish the army, but he could disband it, because the army had become very involved in military coups and power shifts and so on. And when he disbanded the army, he left what was remained as the band. He kept the army band intact. So Haiti actually has an army today, but it's a 42-person band. So that institution was replaced by a civilian police, which is a young institution. Its growth has been full of growth pains, but it's an institution today that is somewhat respected by the Haitians, and it's doing a fairly good job. The Haitian government, under dictators and military rulers, many scholars called Haiti a predatory state. That would be a state that preys on its people. We think of the movie with, was it Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Predator or something like that? We know what a predator is, but we don't know too much about what a predatory state is. But this is a state essentially that is in place to suck the people dry, collect resources, and enrich itself. So that was a strong institution, but it was an institution that wasn't receiving help from the outside. In fact, international organizations wanted to bypass the state because they knew that if their funds went into that state, they wouldn't be used very efficiently. There was a great deal of corruption and outright theft of international of money. So the Haitian state was kind of put over here by many of the donors, including the United States, who wanted to help Haiti in humanitarian assistance and education and health and these sort of things. And the donors started working through what we call today non-governmental organizations, NGOs. And the NGOs would kind of undertake their activities funded by outside help. Well, this equation started to change in the 1990s when you started to have elections in Haiti. And the Haitian people chose their leaders. They weren't imposed upon them. They chose their leaders. And those leaders started saying, look, we are an elected government and we want to render services to our people. We want to be involved in healthcare and education and so on. But the problem had been that the donors, and Haiti is very dependent on foreign aid. It doesn't have much money at all. The government of Haiti raises enough money through taxes basically to pay salaries, but not to enact any programs. So all programs are dependent upon foreign aid. But the donors were saying, we're used to working with the NGOs and so on, and the government was not getting any funding. So the government, over the past 20 years, has become really emaciated and weak, and it evolved from being what was called the predatory state to today, I argue, and others do, that it's an absent government. It's an absent state. The government is not present in the lives of people.
What about the third piece, the church?
The church is interesting. The Catholic Church, religion in Haiti is almost what you call fungible. The old conventional phrase is that many Haitians respect the traditional religion or voodoo on a Saturday, and then they go to a Catholic church on a Sunday. So you have that kind of duality. And then in more recent times, Christianity of the non-Catholic type has become a little more common in Haiti. Baptist and some of the more fundamentalist churches through mission groups that have gone and had success in Haiti. But the Catholic Church had played a very prominent political role in the 1970s and 1980s, particularly among priests and nuns who were Haitian, who had come from Haitian modest backgrounds and who were working in what was called at that time the preferential option for the poor, coming out of the theology of Paulo Freire in Brazil, what was called consciousness raising and that sort of thing, preferential option for the poor. And so the church became involved politically. Pope John Paul II visited there in 1983, which was very instrumental in strengthening the church's push toward change. And by the time the Duvalier dictatorship collapsed in 1986, the Catholic Church was in particularly very politically engaged. And then, of course, President Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who was first elected in 1990, he had been a priest. And he was a priest when he was elected, although eventually he left the priesthood and got married. So you had this very strong engagement. In more recent times, the church has kind of taken a much lower profile and has not been so terribly engaged politically. In large part, I think, because that political engagement has moved to a different realm where you actually have competitive elections and you actually have a political playing field where things are played out and contested in the political arena, and the church feels it doesn't need to have the same role. So that's kind of the lay of the land of these institutions.
As we look to the future, what are some of your suggestions? I know that education was a major focus of NGOs and others before the earthquake and is still today. Is education one of the answers? We were having a discussion with students very recently in which they were trying to brainstorm what would be the ideal evolution of the educational system, and one of them came up with the idea that you might want to start from scratch so that you're creating a new generation of young people who've gone through an entirely different educational process, and why not educate them simultaneously in Creole, French, and English so that they can become potentially not just countrywide players but global players?
Well, I think education is an important key. There's no doubt about that. Let me just put out a couple of baseline facts here. One is that Haiti is a very young country. Some 70% of the population is 29 years of age or younger, and that's a huge proportion of the population. Another baseline fact is that roughly only half the population that's eligible for school attends school. So a lot of children don't really get much of an education. In 25% of Haiti's rural districts, there are no schools at all. Another very important baseline fact is that the Haitian state has never really provided much education. Education in Haiti has traditionally been privatized. At the present time, or at least before the earthquake, I'm not sure the numbers right now, but just before the earthquake, 81% of all of Haiti's schools were private schools, and only 19% were government schools. So it's been a privatized system. Within that privatized system, there are some schools that are excellent schools, excellent schools. Of course, you have to pay to go to those schools, so those schools will serve people with means. Other private schools are kind of little businesses that people run to make some money and to render an education. The average class size in those schools, I'm told, is about 76 kids in a classroom. As a university professor who's capped at 25 or 30 students, imagine being in a primary room with 70-some kids. I mean, it's just not a good educational environment. These schools all charge tuition. They may not be a lot of tuition, but the Haitians have a name for these schools. It's the Creole name. They call it L'École Bourlette. L'École is school, and Bourlette is the lottery in Haiti. So people acknowledge the fact that they're paying a little bit of tuition to go to these schools, but they don't know what kind of education their kids are going to get. So there's a big push in Haiti today to do something about this system. Now, the debate is raging on all different sides. One side would say the schools, the education should become the domain of the state, and there should be public schools. On the other side, they say, well, there's already these private schools, why replicate the infrastructure? Instead, maybe there needs to be better standards for the schools, maybe the teachers need to be better trained, and that the government's role is to create national curricula, national testing, and regulations to monitor how the schools work. So, you know, the issue is out there, it's in play. And in this after the earthquake period, you're going to see a lot of movement on education. It's hard to predict which direction it's going to go. And another one of the problems would be, that even if you have educational systems in place, what do the kids do after they leave school? So this is another major challenge in Haiti, is the level of opportunities for school leavers is very low.
Unlike the situation you had some decades ago when there was productive activity in various sectors. So I guess what you're saying is, if we're going to be maintaining this necessary focus on education, we have to have a simultaneous focus on economic development.
That's right, and what I call is matching talents with opportunities. I don't think that many young people go to school with the idea that when they leave school they will go get a job behind a sewing machine in a garment factory piecing together underwear for the rest of their lives. So an additional challenge is, you know, what other kind of opportunities can Haiti muster? Now, in the 2 years preceding the earthquake, I had been working with a number of Haitian officials on the idea of creating in Haiti something called a civic service corps. The idea being that, you know, in the US during the New Deal under the Franklin Roosevelt administration, when we had very high unemployment, we had environmental degradation, the Dust Bowl and those sorts of things, Roosevelt came up with these programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, or the Works Progress Administration, WPA, where the government actually mobilized people to have jobs and to help rebuild the country, to get skills, and to become stakeholders in the future of the United States. In fact, it's interesting when you read some of the books about the Civilian Conservation Corps, and you read the stories of how grandfathers, people who are now grandfathers, and they take their grandchildren and show them what they had done to help rebuild America in those days. Well, in Haiti, in the Constitution of Haiti, there's a clause, I can tell you it's Article 52.3, that says all Haitians must render civic service to the nation. And a number of the prime ministers in the past 2 or 3 years, plus other advisors to the government, had been working on the idea of, through this constitutional article and through the idea of the Civilian Conservation Corps, creating some sort of a youth-oriented civic service corps in Haiti. Before the earthquake, we had been moving in that direction. It would be a way of, you know, helping young people to have work, learn skills, get a stake in the country, help to rehabilitate the environment, build roads, improve the infrastructure, and so on. That's one of the ideas that is still being kicked around now as a way of trying to get Haitian young people and people out of work a way to become involved in rebuilding the country. It would be a massive effort. The numbers are being thrown around, something, you know, 500,000 people in this. So it would be massive, it would be costly, but it would be essential, I think, for resolving many of the problems that Haiti must address, unemployment, infrastructure, and these sort of things.
What else should we be looking for in terms of trying to assist in improving this situation?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things we need to recognize is that Haitians are selecting their own governments. Sometimes it's a very sloppy process, but they are selecting their governments, and their governments have to shoulder the responsibility of governing. They can't be absent. The Haitian people want them to be present. So I think we have to find ways of maybe working in a 3-part system where we are funders, we work with NGOs to do activities, but we can't bypass the government of Haiti. I mean, one of the things that's very stark in this after the earthquake period, out of every dollar that's gone to Haiti, the government of Haiti gets 2 cents. Now, that's not much to strengthen institutions, but you need to have government institutions strong enough so that they can maintain and extend activities. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing project after project after project, and you may not get anywhere in terms of raising up the country and meeting the goals of a national development plan. So we have to figure out a better way of working to strengthen institutions in the government, provide expertise. I know I work with some of the people in the Obama administration on these issues. The broader issue is reforming American foreign assistance, but Haiti is like the poster child of that. And this is one of the big challenges that we're facing, is to try to figure out how we can more effectively use American foreign aid to support institutions locally so that we don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting nowhere, basically.
Getting nowhere.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maguire, for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, John. Thank you.
And thank you. For the Global Perspectives Office, I'm John Bersia. We'll see you next time.
This program was made possible by funding from the UCF Global Perspectives Office.